Live from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening. This is the National News Broadcast. I'm Movin Hettiaraju. Joining me today is Sharifah Tahir. Today is the 7th of December and here are today's headlines. The Ceylon Electricity Board says that the electricity charges should be increased, while the Public Utilities Commission points out that there is no need for an increase of charges. A disclosure on unauthorized residents acquiring land of the Jawaradhanapura Hospital. The exemplary man who did not turn his disorder into an obstacle. A 6-year prison term for the Vice President of Argentina. Now on to those and more stories in detail. On today's top story, today is the Undua Full Moon Poya Day, and it is considered a day of significance in the history of Buddhist Sahasana.
The Shripada pilgrim season starts from this day. It was on a Poya Day like today that the female Bhikkhu order had commenced in the island. According to the Sasana history, 11 female Buddhist monks headed by Arahat Sangametta Thera had arrived in Sri Lanka from Dambadeva, India, carrying the southern branch of the sapling of a Sri Mahabodhi. The 2022-2023 Shripada pilgrim season had got underway today. The casket of sacred relics, statue of God Saman and jewelries of the deities were brought in procession in the traditional manner to the Udamalua of Shripada from the Galpottavala Rajamahaviharya in Palmadulla. The sacred items were deposited at the Udamalua at the auspicious time at dawn today. Chief incumbent of the Shripada Sthanaya and Chief Sanganayaka of Sabaragamua Ratnapura Mahadisava, Venerable Bengamue Dhammadinna Thera, has requested devotees to maintain the sacred status of the Shripada Sthanaya by protecting the environment. Many dansals have been organized on the road leading to Shripada from Hatton town. An Unduap Full Moon Poya Day Dhamma sermon organised by Prime Minister's office was held at the temple trees this morning under the patronage of Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena. The Dhamma sermon has been delivered by Chief Sanganayaka of Colombo, Navakorale and Navatotumuna, Venerable Thumbovila Dhammaratana Thera. The Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation is broadcasting live throughout the day its Undua Full Moon Poya Day Saddharma Varsha religious program from Manirvatta Mahaviharasthanaya in Bollegala, Kalaniya. The national television religious program is comprised of Attasil campaign, Buddha Puja, Dhamma sermons and Dhamma discussions.
The Ceylon Electricity Board says that the electricity bill will have to be increased in order to procure funds for power generation next year. However, the Public Utilities Commission says that an increase in electricity charges is not necessary at this moment. A media briefing to clarify on the reasons to electricity charges increases was held at the Ministry of Power and Energy today. Chairman of the Ceylon Electricity Board, Nalinda Ilangakon, said that period of nearly 10 years the prices of the raw materials has been increasing. Yet the Ceylon Electricity Board has not increased charges due to the rises in raw material prices. The CE been incurring losses every unit of electricity by selling them at low cost. He further said that they have written documentation their position over the request made to the Public Utilities Commission over increases of electricity tariffs. However, Chairman of the Public Utilities Commission, Janaka Ratnayaka, says that they have not yet received any requests regarding the electricity charges. Chairman of the Public Utilities Commission, Janaka Ratnayaka, said that other than the year 2016, there has not been an instance of a request to increase power bills. He further said that the CEB is hoping to recover losses in recent years through the anticipated increases in charges of electricity. He added that according to the data received by them, they have not found that there is absolute no need for increased charges. The chairman added that therefore the general public should not have any fears in any further increases on the electricity bill.
State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya says that the International Monetary Fund has agreed to extend financial support to Sri Lanka in the times ahead. The State Finance Minister was referring to a discussion conducted between the President and the heads of the IMF yesterday. State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya said that a discussion was held over restructuring of the Sri Lankan economy in a vibrant manner under the leadership of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. He added that the IMF have responded extremely positively to the initiatives of the Sri Lanka delegation. At the meeting conducted for a period of 3 hours, the IMF has appreciated and extended their fullest support to the government's program on the issue. It has been disclosed at a COPE committee meeting yesterday that 165 perches belonging to the Sri Jabardhanapura Hospital have been acquired illegally by residents.
The committee suspects that a group in the hospital is extending support to the fraudulent individuals. Many administrative shortcomings of the hospital have come to light at the committee meeting. The Auditor General has requested a special investigative report on the irregularities in the hospital. Britain has expressed willingness to extend the necessary technological and practical assistance for the implementation of a climate prosperity plan presented by Sri Lanka.
The Deputy British High Commissioner in Sri Lanka, Mrs. Lisa Wanstall, has expressed her assurance in the regard at a discussion at the Presidential Secretariat today. The meeting has taken place between Senior Presidential Advisor on Climatic Change, Ruwan Wijewardene, and the Deputy British High Commissioner, Mrs. Wanstall, has added that Britain appreciates Sri Lanka's efforts to minimize the harmful effects of climatic change. Accordingly, the necessary technological and theatrical support will be extended. The Deputy High Commissioner has also stated that maximum cooperation will be extended for the proposed International University of Climatic Changes, which is to be established on the instructions of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Senior Presidential Advisor Ruwan Wijewardene has presented on this occasion the government's future program on climatic change. He added that the draft bill on climatic change will be presented to Parliament in due course. The President's Media Division says attention has also been focused at the meeting on the forthcoming Sri Lanka's 75th Independence Day. Treasure hunters are causing immense destructions to ancient Buddhist viharas. The robbers have destroyed many historical temples looking for hidden treasures, and this is the story of such an ancient vihara.
The Uthurupiyangala Rajamahavihara in Galiduwa Vava in Nochiagama belongs to the era of the prehistoric times. The ancient temple is located in an extent of 145 acres. The silent and attractive environment is catered with the remains of archaeological items, which include stone caves and historical carvings. In the caves, monks meditate, and Uthurupiyangala Rajamahavihara was believed to be constructed by King Bhattiya during the era before the Christian era. It is believed to have been offered to Arhat Bhikkhu named Dhammadinna, according to the historical records. The pond where the king bathed, as well as the periscope the temple walls, could be still witnessed. The treasure hunters, knowing the historical value, have destroyed the ancient Buddhist statues and caves in 5 occasions. The chief incumbent bhikkhu of the vihara and residents have come forward disregarding the threat on their lives to safeguard the vihara. They are guarding the temple day and night. The authorities must take into notice the responsibility to allow future generations to venerate this sacred site without subjecting plunderers to fully destroy the historical location.
In the meantime, foreign tourists are arriving in the island in luxury vessels and bringing record income to the Department of Wildlife as they eagerly visit the Yala Wildlife Park. 551 tourists who came in a ship on the 30th of last month have brought an income of 6.2 million rupees by visiting the Yala Wildlife Park in 110 vehicles. A further batch of 86 tourists also brought an income of 980,000 rupees by visiting the park in 18 vehicles on the 5th of this month. Minister Mahinda Amaraveera has instructed the Wildlife Department to keep the ticketing counters open for a longer period to enable the visitors to purchase more tickets. The minister has also instructed the relevant divisions that the Ministry of Tourism should be informed when tourists visit the Yala Wildlife Park in future. Meanwhile, foreign tourists visit Alla and Ravanalla in Bandarawala, and that has also increased. Environmental beauty has been enhanced due to enrichment of waterfalls during the rainy season. The economy of the residents in the area has also increased due to the tourist arrivals. We have observed on many occasions how individuals in society have destroyed their lives due to minor shortcomings.
However, there are individuals who do not make their disabilities an obstruction to their livelihood. This is a story of one such individual. The sound you heard was the enchanting musical tones created through the flute of A.J. Sumanavira, a lone musician at the bus stand in Kakirava. Although he is a musician, he is blind. Although he was born with vision, later on he became blind due to a poisoning of a drug. This is a 47-year-old Gamini, a resident of Kakirava who lives in a small brick shanty. However, despite all difficulties, he had a smile on his face. He's taking care of his 87-year-old mother by his daily income. Gamini could be seen paying his food at the bus stand from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day. At a time when fraudsters without any physical disabilities are taking advantage in the streets, Gamini of Kakirava has set a fine example to the whole country. They are spending an immense amount of money unnecessarily. Yet, if we could allocate a small portion of our money to the people of courage of this nature, it would be meritorious.
Many pinkkamas have been organized in temples throughout the island today in connection with the Unduap full moon Poya day. Devotees in large numbers were present at the Jai Shri Mahabodhi and Ruan Valley Mahasaya in Anuradhapura for veneration. A sapling of the Jai Shri Mahabodhi was planted at the Buddhist center in Mattegoda today. The sapling was brought in processions from the Mattegoda junction in the presence of chief incumbent of the Abhayaramaya, Narayampita Venerable Muruttetuwe Ananda Thera. The 23rd in the series of Dhamma sermons under the title Siri Daham Seta, organized by the Office of the Leader of the Opposition, was held today with the participation of Opposition Leader Sajith Premadasa. The Dhamma sermon has been delivered by Chief Incumbent. The Dhamma sermon in Carlton, Thangalla was delivered for the 229th occasion today by Venerable Yatimadara Dharmasirithera of Pushparama Viharaya, Pulam Marua, Thangalla. A group of devotees, including former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, was present on this occasion. A program to collect school equipment for low-income families was conducted recently in parallel to the program of carrying the God statue to the Sri Padasthana, Malua. Contributions were collected from those who came to watch the Perahera. The event has been jointly organized by the business community and the Dehiyovita Pradeshya Sabha. A series of pinkkamas in connection with the first anniversary of the International Studies Institute affiliated to the Daham Sevana Viharaya in Kirigam Pamanua, Mattegoda were conducted. The event has been organized under the initiatives of Chief Incumbent of the Viharaya, Dr. Suduhumpala Vimalasara Thera. The first ever program organized by the United Traders of Dehiwala to distribute dry rations has taken place recently. Bags of dry rations were distributed among 50 pregnant women and the value of each bag was 10,000 rupees. An annual meritorious program to free 12 cattle subjected to slaughter was conducted by the Young Men's Buddhist Association of Dehiwala. Caretakers have been entrusted the task of looking after the animals freed from death.
India says that Sri Lanka is able to achieve economic rejuvenation of the country through multilateral joint economic programs with India. Indian Minister of Finance and Institutional Affairs Nirmala Sitharaman and Sri Lankan High Commissioner in India Milinda Moragada have discussed the issue at the meeting in New Delhi yesterday. Several rounds of discussion between Sri Lankan ambassador and the Indian leaders have been conducted since last month. The meetings have focused attention on Sri Lanka's debt restructuring process and the current state of economic crisis. The Commissioner has pointed out the threat to poverty on the population due to the economic contraction. The Indian and Sri Lankan representatives also discussed on further investment on tourist and trade opportunities in Sri Lanka.
We now move on to some local news in brief. First program to prepare employees in the state sector for job opportunities in the information technology sector has taken place at the Ministry of Home Affairs yesterday. The program has been named as Refresher Bootcamp, professional organizations in the IT sector and the International Information and Communication Technology Institute are extending fuller support for the program. New housing deeds have been handed over to 41 unauthorized residents in the canal banks of Butgamul in Kotte. Minister Vidura Vikramanayake has made arrangements to provide housing facilities in the multi-storied housing complex being erected in Henamulla to the unauthorized residents. Commemoration ceremony of veteran cinematologist Timothy Veeraratne took place in Kandy yesterday. On this occasion, Gamini Bandara Manikdevela of the National Television has won both awards on Best Explorative and Best Economic Related News in South Asia. A digital technological trade promotion exhibition with the objective of promoting local production items to the international market was held yesterday. The aim is to secure investments between $5 to $7 million. The measures would enable 1,000 direct job opportunities for IT personnel. Chief guest on the occasion was State Minister Lohan Ratwatar. 109 Air Force personnel have left for African Republic to engage in United Nations peacekeeping duties from the Bandaranaike International Airport. Well, that's it on local news. We'll be back with news overseas. Do stay tuned in.
Prima Kotumi Fantamai.
To foreign news. A court in Argentina has sentenced Vice President Cristina Fernandez to 6 years in jail for corruption in a case that has shaken the country.
Argentinian Vice President Cristina Fernandez, aged 69, was found guilty of a fraudulent administration over the awarding of public works contracts to a friend, but she is unlikely to serve jail term. She has some immunity due to her government roles and is expected to launch a lengthy appeals process, and she has also been banned from public office for life but will continue in her role as vice president while the case goes through higher courts. Prosecutors had sought a 12-year jail sentence. Cristina Fernandez said the charges against her were politically motivated. Speaking after the verdict, she described herself as a victim of a judicial mafia. Prior to the ruling, she had also accused the prosecutors of lying and slandering her. It is the first time ever that a vice president has been convicted of a crime while in office in Argentina. Prosecutors said Fernandez de Kirchner had led an unlawful partnership during the time when she was president of Argentina from 2007 to 2015. They said she had created a kickback scheme which steered lucrative public work contracts towards a friend of hers in return for bribes. Businessman Lazaro Baez, the owner of a construction firm who was accused of being the main beneficiary of the scheme, was also sentenced to 6 years in prison. He had already been sentenced to 12 years in prison last year for money laundering. 11 other people were on trial. 7 were found guilty and sentenced to between 3.5 and 6 years in prison. 3 were released and 1 had their case dismissed.
Authorities in India's central state of Madhya Pradesh are racing against time to rescue an 8-year-old boy who fell deep into a 400 feet borewell on Tuesday. The incident took place in Madhya Pradesh, Belur district. Indian police said the hole was dug 2 years ago as a borehole on the farm but was not operational due to the unavailability of water. Rescue operations are already underway to get the boy out safely, and earth-moving machines have been brought to dig up the area, the police stated. The arrangements have been made to provide oxygen to the boy. They added a team of State Disaster Response Force has been mobilized to Bishopal and Hoshangabad.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has visited troops in the eastern Donetsk region, which Russia claims as its own after a referendum. The area, particularly around the town of Bakhmut, is now the main focus of fierce fighting after Ukraine's forces retook Kherson in the south last month. Russia and its proxies have controlled parts of Donetsk since 2014, and new Russian strikes were reported in the central eastern Dnipropetrovsk region. One person was injured after an industrial facility was hit in the city. This comes after Monday's massive Russian missile strikes that again targeted critical civilian infrastructure in Ukraine. Ukraine is now seeing snow and sub-zero temperatures in many regions, and millions are without electricity and running water, raising fears people may die of hypothermia. Speaking on the day of the armed forces, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky called the fighting around Bakhmut the most difficult area that protects not only the east but our entire state. But he said he believed Ukraine would take back all the land occupied by Russia, including Crimea. There have been intense battles for many weeks near Bakhmut as Russia attempts to take more territory after a string of battlefield defeats in other parts of Ukraine. President Zelensky praised troops for their courage and endurance in a video filmed in the city of Sloviansk, about 45 kilometers northwest of Bakhmut. Sloviansk was one of the first cities occupied by pro-Russian forces in 2014 but was later recaptured by Ukraine. Later on, Mr. Zelensky visited wounded Ukrainian soldiers being treated in hospital in the northeastern Kharkiv region.
The Democratic Party of the United States of America has gained their control of the U.S. Senate by winning a bitterly fought runoff election in Georgia. Raphael Warnock fended off Republican challenger Herschel Walker in a race that has been left undecided after last month's midterm elections. President Joe Biden's party now holds the upper chamber of Congress by 51 to 49. The results caps a disappointing round of midterm election results for the Republicans. The party underperformed expectations last month by winning only a slender majority in the U.S. House of Representatives, Congress's lower chamber. Walker, a former NFL player and a political newcomer, joins a string of defeated candidates endorsed by former President Donald Trump, who is currently seeking Republican White House nomination again in 2024. Georgia's contest had to be settled by a runoff vote because there was no candidate past 50% of the vote in November, although Warnock led Herschel Walker by 37,000 votes cast. Warnock became the first black senator in the Deep South state when he first won the seat in January 2021. The 53-year-old Southern Baptist preacher, whose Atlanta church was once led by civil rights leader Martin Luther King, gave a special thank you to his mother. Warnock's win came at a narrow margin, with 99% of the estimated voted counts secured a 50.58 votes to Walker's 49.2% according to Edison Research.
Violent protests broke out in Greece's second-largest city over the police shooting of a Roma teenager after he allegedly filled his vehicle at a gas station and drove off without paying. The 16-year-old boy was being treated in critical condition at a Thessaloniki hospital. The officer who allegedly shot him in the head was arrested and suspended from duty, police in the northern city said. About 1,500 people took part in a protest march organized by left-wing and anarchist groups in central Thessaloniki on Monday night. Some smashed shops and threw Molotov cocktails at police, who responded with tear gas and stun grenades. Police detained 6 people after the end of the march. Before that protest, about 100 Roma men set up barricades blocking a main road outside the hospital where the boy was being treated and set fire to trash cans. Police had used stun grenades and tear gas earlier to disperse protesters, throwing bottles at them outside the hospital. Members of the Roma community in Greece and human rights activists frequently accuse Greek authorities of discriminating against Roma. Several Roma men have been fatally shot or injured in recent years during confrontations with police while allegedly seeking to evade arrest for breaches of the law. The injured youth was not named but identified by relatives as being a member of the Roma minority. Police said the 34-year-old officer arrested on suspicion of shooting the teenager was suspended and an internal investigation was underway.
Prima Kotumi Fantamai.
Now, news, we are looking at the FIFA World Cup. All Ceylon Sports Tournament organized by the Ministry of Education concluded at the Sugatas Stadium yesterday.
More than 4,700 sports personnel representing 9 provinces of the island took part in the event under 4 age categories. The overall championship trophy was won by the Western Province. The runners-up for the Central Province. The award for the best sportsman of the tournament was won by Nadun Bandara of Royal College, Colombo. He has created a new record in the 110-meter hurdles event. The best female sportsperson, Tharushi Dilsara of Valala Ratnayaka Central College. A special feature has been the setting up of 24 new records during the 5-day tournament. Chief guest of the tournament was Minister of Education, Susir Premajang. A Western music display has made the concluding ceremony more colourful.
පුරාදින පහක් පැවති තරගාවලියේදී නව වාර්තා 24ක් මෙහි
Prima Kotami, Fantamai!
That's it for tonight's English News telecast. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Have a pleasant night.